Assalamu alaikum students, this is Muhammad Ismail, your economics teacher. I hope you will be enjoying good state of health and getting ready for the summer as well. Last session students, that was a bit longer, so today's session we will keep it a bit smarter and shorter. And we will start with living standards. Living standards we have already defined, and at the same time human development index we have already defined. But today's concept is about comparison of living standards and income distribution. This is how we will start. What are possible reasons for differences in living standards and income distribution within and between countries? So if we look at this statement, first of all, there is an emphasis on living standard and income distribution within the countries or within a country. When we talk about within a country, we need to look around that in case of Pakistan, we have rich people, we have poor people. We have people who are living in the best areas or the posh areas, and at the same time, we have people who are living in the slums. We can just take the example of Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi. These are our metropolitan cities. So here we can say that, or we can see as well, that are all who are the residents of these metropolitan cities, they are able to enjoy same living standards? The answer will be no. Why? The reason behind this is that these people have different earning due to which they can afford or they cannot afford the same as those who are earning high or who are rich as compared to them. That is why the poor are unable to afford to live in the posh areas. And once they are unable to live in the posh areas, it means they cannot enjoy the same water, sanitation, electricity, the surrounding, the open areas, the parks, particularly unfenced public parks, and the environment. When I say environment, I mean that the streets where these people live, those are very congested, just like the walled city of Lahore. It is very, very congested. I mean, people are forced to live with the flow of human feces around them and open door toilets on the main roads. So, this is the reason that in the same country and even in one city, people are unable to enjoy same living standards. Then comes your income distribution. Now, income distribution is a question of a public sector and public welfare as well. Why? Because government is responsible to tax, and through tax collection, then the government is to redistribute. Now, if we look around Pakistan or being Pakistani, we fall among those countries which are called developing countries. And in most of the developing countries, there are very few, very small percentage of the population which is rich and huge population which is poor. So that is why, in case of countries like Pakistan, the size of direct tax is very small as compared to the size of indirect tax. And any country where there the size of indirect tax will be higher than the size of direct tax, over their income distribution will never be equal. This is within the country. Now let's look at for between countries. Now when we say OECD countries, OECD stands for Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. There are around 32 to 33 countries. When we talk about these countries have relatively higher living standards, relatively better income distribution, mean equal distribution, or with relatively smaller gap of income distribution as compared to newly industrialized countries and developing countries. In case of developing countries, they have poor labor productivity due to very low literacy rate and substantial dependence on primary sector or primary production. In case of industrialized countries, they have substantial dependence on manufacturing, but manufacturing has destroyed the environment, the natural resource base. Okay, so we were discussing that these living standards and income distribution between countries. So OECD countries have relatively better living standards, better distribution, more equal distribution as compared to newly industrialized or industrialized economies. They have relatively better living standards and income distribution as compared to developing countries. So this is why the differences do exist. Then, are these differences because of income distribution? To a greater extent, these differences are due to income distribution. Why? Because it's the government taxing policy. If the government will go for progressive taxation, it means rich will be taxed more, then that higher or bigger sums of tax will be distributed by the government in the form of provision of social goods, merit goods, etc., which will improve the living standard, which will improve the productivity and enable the people to earn more. Country will grow. So ultimately, the overall income level will rise and earning of lower level people or lower skilled people will also improve. Then, do necessarily residents of rich countries enjoy high living standards? Do you think there are no slums in England, in the United States? There are. Almost in every country there are. But yes, there are countries where they're very small extent. But in these world top economies, there are, for example, world top four, I mean, America, China, then Japan, England, Germany. There are slums. There are areas where their people do not have the same access to all resources the way the elite class has or the rich people have. So it means living standards do differ in rich countries as well. Why? Because over there too, the labor productivity is different, earning capacity is different. So that is why people do not, or the residents do not enjoy the same living standards. Then, is it rise in real GDP or equal distribution of real GDP to assure better living standards? It is both, but the latter is more important. A rise in real GDP does not necessarily mean that it will be distributed equally as well. But yes, equal distribution of real GDP will definitely improve the living standard. Why? Because people will get their fair share. And out of that, they will spend and they will be able to enjoy better amenities of life. So ultimately, they will enjoy better living standards. So, students, today we will stay only till this, and until the next class, you have now two home tasks based on your first video lecture and this second video lecture, which we had just now. So you are supposed to go through those questions on the basis of this material, and then you need to provide a solution for that, a suggested solution, which you think is the best. Until the next class, Allah Hafiz, best of luck.